Hi folks, welcome back to video 3 in this kettlebell series on the science, the anatomy, and also the technique of the kettlebell swing. In this next video, we're going to be looking at medial hamstring recruitment. So it's interesting, we often don't think of hamstrings being recruited during the swing. We often think posterior chain focusing on glutes and back. But remember, it's a whole of that chain, and that would include the hamstring muscles. When we say medial, the point there is that the kettlebell is in between the legs, and because of that motion, we're going to get a lot more recruitment of the medial portions of the hamstrings, which also insert into the back of the knee and also affect the cruciate ligament, the ACL. So we'll showcase that in a slide in a moment. So again, just re-emphasizing this, in a two-hand swing, we're never in a narrow stance. So when we're doing a deadlift, we could focus in on, for example, lifting in concentric and then working on eccentric load. And that's where the hamstrings are going to really come into play. Now, in the kettlebell swing, there's almost zero emphasis on eccentric loading. What we're doing, however, is we're keeping the knees bent slightly, and we're never going into too much flexion, because otherwise then the hamstrings come out of action. So, and obviously glutes are going to be having a bit more of an impact in that respect. So we're going to pick up, and once again, have a look at the downward phase. It's when I pop at the top that I'm going to be generating that contraction to get into extension, and thereby integrating the whole of that posterior chain. So in this slide, we can see that kettlebell swings effectively recruit medial hamstrings. The studies you can see, there's two particular studies we draw on, and hamstring activation is important for primary and secondary prevention of ACL injuries, anterior cruciate ligament injuries. And of course, single and double-handed kettlebell swings provide sufficient muscular recruitment for strengthening this posterior chain, as mentioned. Go to this next slide, you can see that through an EMG, that the kettlebell, the activation through a swing, is pretty high. Comparing it to some of these other methods where hamstring is recruited. And look, it's kind of incredible that it is in line with the Romanian deadlift. So again, the kettlebell, as you can see now and appreciate, is a great tool for prehab, rehab, in your training, whether it's for performance or whether for general health. Stay tuned for our next video, where we'll finalize our series on the science application, and that is to be not missed.